Apparently my new favorite thing is recording the same video 17 times over. Welcome back. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about time management and how using a time management tool or an app to help track my working hours has helped me become more productive in less time and is allowing me to feel a little bit less guilty about when I take mornings off. As a freelancer, as a self-employed person, it's really easy to get sucked into a trap of feeling like you need to work the regular 9 to 5, but knowing that you also work different hours than that. What I mean is I teach fitness classes Monday through Thursday evening, so that means I'm out every single evening. I work every afternoon. I teach Tuesday, Thursday, Friday mornings, and when I take Monday and Wednesday mornings off, I usually feel a little bit guilty because they are part of the traditional work week. Even though I'm working 4 evenings and should be able to take 2 mornings off, it's hard for me to tell my brain that. So in 2018, one of the things that I did is I started to track my work hours. I did this as a way to make sure that I was staying on track, working as many hours as I know that I need to in order to get my work done, but making sure that I don't work too many hours so that I'm getting burnt out and overworked. And I thought today I would share with you some of the things that I've learned since doing that. Number one, it helps me to focus a whole lot more. When I start a timer saying that I am working on emails, I'm going to sit there and work on emails until I turn the timer off. Instead of working on an email, then the next thing I know I'm on Facebook, then I'm over on Twitter, then I'm checking Instagram, and it's just that cycle that goes on and on. But if I know that my app is recording me in email, I better stick to email. Same thing when I'm writing. Sometimes I'll get sucked into that vortex, but not now. If I click the button saying that I'm writing, I sit there and I write. And it just helps me get more done. I'm just focusing in, getting the work done. Same amount of work, less time. Already loving it. The second way I'm getting more work done in less time is by multitasking. And I want to clarify that I'm multitasking, not double dipping. I'll explain the difference as we go. So normally I teach a cardio class Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays, so I get enough movement in during my classes that I don't have to worry about doing anything else. On Mondays and Wednesdays, I teach one class, and on Mondays is yoga, Wednesdays is a strength training class. I'm mostly coaching in both of those classes, not doing, so I like to go for a walk on Monday, Wednesdays, sometimes Fridays, to get some fresh air, clear my mind, and get a little bit more activity in. And I felt guilty about that too because it's time that I should be working, but now I record that time because while I walk, I listen to a business podcast or audiobook. So I'm getting some professional development in while getting in my activity, and I don't have to feel guilty about it. Another way I get a little bit more in when I'm driving, which I do a lot of. I usually listen to podcasts or audiobook as well so that I can record my travel time. If I were double dipping, that would mean that I was like editing photos while listening to something and recording 20 minutes of photo editing plus 20 minutes of professional development. And I don't do that. I just stick to one or the other. And really, when I'm editing photos, I usually like to listen to Hallmark movies on the television. I can't really count that as work. The third way that tracking my time has made me more productive is, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, I've set some parameters for myself based on how many hours I need to work each week and how many hours is my maximum. So for me, I've set a minimum number of hours worked as 25. So I need to get 25 working hours in every week unless I'm sick or on vacation or something. But I try to max out at 35 hours. I don't want to go over 35. Occasionally that's going to happen. Last week it did happen. I went over by not very much, but a little bit because I was prepping for my event that I had last Saturday morning, and it took a little bit more time than I was expecting to get everything pulled together, plus the time to teach the event. It was a 2.5-hour event. That meant that I kind of went over, but that was the exception and not the rule. So you want to have a nice little area. I mean, if you're working full-time in a regular job, you have set hours, so it makes sense that I would have some parameter for set hours. And when I come down to the 25, that's more on like holiday weeks or weeks where I am having to take a day off for appointments and things. And I mean, occasionally there's going to be a 5-day work week where I only do 25 hours worth of work because maybe there's a little bit less going on that week. And then there might be a whole lot of weeks where I work a full 35. But the point is I'm making sure that I am working at least 25 and trying to stay under 35. This way, I'm kind of putting my mind at ease saying, okay, if I get in 25 hours, that's pretty good. If I get in 35, I need to finish whatever I'm working on. That also helps too because I'm now giving myself a salary. And if I go over 35 hours a week, I'm not valued valuing my own time. Another way that this is helping me to get more done in less time is I pre-plan things that I know are going to happen every week. For example, my fitness classes. Unless there is a snowstorm, please can we be done with snowstorms for this winter? I mean, it's spring now. We should be done. Unless there's a storm or a power outage or I'm sick, my class schedule every week is the same. So Monday morning, I sit down and I plot in all of those hours into my work week. I do not count my travel time, except if I use it as professional development. And that professional development bit is actually really important, especially when you're in a creative type position. We can get stuck looking in our computers, looking in our phones way too much, and you kind of get your blinders on and just do what you do, and you forget about learning new ways, better ways of doing things. So I really like the professional development, especially when I'm outside. I get to enjoy the fresh air, get some vitamin D, get some steps in, but also I'm learning things that I can implement when I get back to my desk half an hour later. And sometimes in order to be creative, I have to step away from the computer and let my mind do its thing to come up with a solution to the problem. And we forget about that a lot of the time. So I think it's really important to get yourself away from the computer when you can. I realize not everybody can, but when you can, and get that professional development, that thinking time. If I'm thinking on a project, I will absolutely log that as working hours. Even if I'm physically not doing anything, my brain is working and I deserve to log that as thinking time section. But you get what I'm saying. And this is a little bit snarky, but if you are like a stay-at-home parent or a stay-at-home housewife, husband, goes both ways, folks. I know that sometimes that other person can come home at the end of the day and be like, what have you done all day? The house is a mess, the kids are screaming, blah, 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 blah. Like I said, a little bit snarky, but you could record what you do during the day and hand them a report at the end of the week. May not want to do it, but you may. Just saying. I hope you found this video interesting and maybe you found something that you could implement into your own life. I would really appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff, and I will see you on Friday.